to Mastering CS Candid Leader Insights, the podcast where we dive into the world of customer success with industry leaders. I'm your host, Irina Cismas, and today I'm joined by Alexandra Ardelean, Senior Customer Success Manager at BigTime, professional service automation platform for project-based businesses. Alexandra, I'm really happy to have you here. Thanks for joining.
Hi, Irina. Thank you so much for having me.
Let's start with where you are right now. BigTime went through an acquisition, and you are right in the middle of the integration work on the CS side. What does the role actually look like today?
Oh my God, it's a bit like an orchestra conductor, as in there's a lot going on. So, as you mentioned, the company I work for has been through an acquisition two years ago. I am still serving the book of business of the product that was before the acquisition because we haven't discontinued supporting the platform. But at the same time, we want to integrate not only the product and the experience, but also the customer experience. So I am taking a lot of the working flows and habits of the CS team from the US and adjusting them to the European market, to the Polish realities, because I don't know if we mentioned that I am based in Poland and most of my book of business is based in Poland. So there are cultural aspects that need to be adjusted, and then there are a lot of also change management aspects that need to be adjusted. So, from unifying subscription models to even introducing a new way of working with a support team, with myself as CSM, etc.
You mentioned proactively the adapting to the Polish culture. And I think you are one of the few people who goes proactively and states this part. So I have to ask you, are the realities so different, US versus Europe and Europe versus and inside Europe, countries that requires in some cases localization, playbook localization, where the way you do things on the CS to be localized to the culture, local culture, and if so, things that are quite different versus US or other European countries.
Totally, there are a lot. And I think like maybe some of our listeners might have experienced it themselves. Some of them might be as surprised as I was when starting to experience these cultural differences because like I was educated. I grew up with American movies. I worked with American customers. I had like different interactions with the American mindset. Most of self-development books are written by US authors, so I thought like it will be like no biggie. But then when actually tactically you need to work with customers and adjust even just language, even just emails, you see like this all these tiny details like sum up with quite a lot of adjustments that need to be made. And then it's also like you need to already know how to adjust it. It's not only putting in a prompt to ChatGPT to just like, adjust it to the Polish culture because I did.
Doesn't work like this. You don't have a skill in Claude or a dedicated prompt in ChatGPT to. Those are the things that you should know about Poland customers now. Do the email for.
Do the thing. To be honest, like now that you mentioned skills, I started to like very recently, like at the beginning of March, to challenge myself into thinking, okay, like could I prompt it? Could I prompt it just take the playbook of my colleagues and adjust it to my reality? And yes, it is possible, but no, it's not possible to like just make it automatically. You need to know what to prompt.
And besides communication, are there any specific things besides the way you communicate? What are there other things that you have to adapt from a CS perspective?
I would say that more than communication is probably it is an aspect of communication, but it is this managing discomfort, as in myself being Romanian, being Eastern European by education and by mindset. And Poland is very similar in that aspect. We value and we trust when someone tells things straight without wrapping them. because that's so transparency, even when it's ruthless, it is a sign of honesty for us. Whereas in the States, it's almost like they wouldn't say no. So they, even to customers, that we feel that is a dance, we feel that it is like a word salad. What are you trying to say, that this won't be done? I said, no, it will be done, but it will be prioritized in a way that, so there are a lot of words where for us it would be just like rip the band-aid. And then I experienced this when I started to introduce the QBR flow, so the
Mhm.
quarterly business review with my key customers. So I already had a relation with them. And then I would speak like very informally. But then the big change was that I brought in slides. So just a short slide presentation with an agenda, with some product items and so on. And I could see their eyes rolling. I'd be
Mhm.
like, almost like, Alex, what are you doing now? Are you now all corporate and stuff? What's going on? And then I asked my colleagues from the States if they experienced the same. And they were like, no, it's normal to do like a sales speech, to have some slides, to anchor your speech in that. And then I do see the benefit. But
Mhm.
then after that first call where I saw the eyes rolling, I am always like adding an intro, as in, I'm still here, our relationship doesn't change, but look, like I have some new things, some new items that I want to try. I want your feedback on it. So and then they were like, okay, let's go and let's hit the slides.
It's 2 days ago. I had a conversation on a topic of scaling together with our CEO, and funny enough, a head of CS, the big corporation in Poland, and we were discussing about Eastern European versus our CEO is German, Eastern European culture versus German, and also versus US. And I remember him saying to both of us, "It's yeah, you Eastern Europeans are so pessimistic. So you always paint things on a negative side of things. This is how Irina is." And I was like, no, I'm not pessimistic. I'm basically realistic, and I'm straightening out the things that you try to polish or package it, or it's
Exactly. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best. As
exactly,
in,
that's my mantra. That's my mantra as well. Is okay, prepare for the worst, hope for the best, but let's address the elephant in the room. And yeah, it's basically you stating it out and being the third person with whom I discuss it. I realized that indeed it might be a cultural thing that you have to know, to admit, to plan according and adjust your day-to-day work. Now, I want to go back to your background because
mhm,
funny, most of the CSMs I usually talk to come from account management or from sales. You come
mhm.
from operational and process design. Does that show up differently when you are in a customer conversation? What do those things teach you? What do you have different?
I will surprise you a little bit more, because
Mhm.
I specifically landed in this company, in this job, from being a customer in the past. So I was a customer of this platform myself as an operations manager. And right now I am a customer success, so to say, almost serving the persona that I was before.
This is a very
So
this is an advantage. This is a competitive advantage because you understand both worlds. And
it's a
the
double-edged sword, I would say.
exactly, exactly.
Yes, but then it's totally not a typical path, so to say, because I would say that I'm an operations manager first and
Mhm.
then a customer success by evolution in the field specifically for operations manager. Now, do I think that my customer success skills would be now replicable in a different industry, in a different product? Probably by that time. But then I don't think that I would have done the transition as a CS if I wouldn't have the specific knowledge in this vertical, in this industry.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that vertical industry experience is what makes good CSM great? Does it help to basically be in the shoes of the customer first and understand it? And if yes, why? If no, why?
Yeah, so I'm biased here because I will say definitely yes, Because in the customer journey, it's same as in when you do UX research. It is always this phase of empathizing. So understanding the value, putting yourself into the customer's shoes and being like, what is value for you? And then how do you define success? Now, how do you define success? Being really a partner to this customer sometimes means challenging them, shaking their world a little bit, challenging them to question their questions. And the fact that I was in that role helps me a lot because I know the challenges that they're facing and I know intrinsically, so to say, what success means for them. So I can confidently ask, wouldn't you want to see your bench, I don't know, or your team utilization in one click? And then they were like, yes, but can you do that? Yeah, let me show you. And then you go into product, and then you're basically from a totally different level. It's not someone who only knows the product and goes into sales mode, into features mode. You go into value selling, into value framing, and it's above the product. And then product can change now with AI. I will not volunteer and jump ahead. But I think like now when we used to say that change is the only constant and
Mhm.
product always needs to evolve, right now I think like we are all into this AI revolution so much. Like everyone asks like, how can I leverage AI with your product? And it's like, how do you see that? How would you want to leverage AI in my product?
Since you brought it up, I'll facilitate that question as well because indeed it's on everybody is talking about it. And at least in my case, I see two different we have the adopters and the ones that embrace it and they are super hyped. And then we have the opposite, at least in customer success. We have, let's call them the haters. We don't want to use it. We are losing the to be honest, I feel like the truth is in the middle, like in every other things. I don't think at least in customer success you can succeed 100% on the AI part. I think that for sure it helps and it does a lot of things because there are a lot of things that could be easily automated or things that can be easily done by agents in general. And there's also the human touch that you cannot
Mhm.
put an agent to basically do this part. Now I'm curious, how do you leverage the AI? Is it only for the because I also have been the era of those who were on the word of those who embrace AI. It's okay. Do you leverage it more than transcript calls and basically making
Mhm.
summary and preparing for the next QBR?
Yeah, I think I'm more on the conservative spectrum of
Mhm,
using AI. As you mentioned, call transcripts that I think I've become like quite addicted to it.
mhm,
And 2 years ago, I was quite reluctant to record every call because I felt that having an agent taking notes on everything that I say would erode the trust and the relationship that I have with the customer. But now so having all the transcripts, like right now, I think like I record 98% of the conversations that I have. Nobody is actually objecting to it. And then the quality of data aggregation that I can get from the calls. Obviously, there are the low hanging fruits like putting a nice follow up, generating next steps, and so on. But then what I see a game change with that is also like leveraging transcripts basically, but using them as insights, as data points when I speak to product. Because product always asks me like, okay, Alex, what is the top objection, the top like, and then ARR wise. And I
mhm,
always had a problem before aggregating the use cases because people talk in stories, then
mhm,
aggregating those stories into use cases, aggregating them by ARR, by client size, etc. Whereas right now, I can do it like almost take a bunch of transcripts and then search for those particular use cases that I want to aggregate. It's yeah, this is how I take the
So
most value.
I'm with you when it comes to this because I prefer to record so that I can focus on the quality of the conversation and where the conversation lives us to gets us. 2 days ago, I one of my partners from a customer basically called me, and I was like, let's not do this over the phone. Let's go and use Google Meet or something that I can record, because I want to focus on the conversation rather than taking
Exactly.
notes and making sure that I didn't forget this. So you said that. So please repeat. So what do you mean? It's let the conversation flow. We will capture
Exactly.
everything, the debate, the pro and cons, and then I can later on analyze it with AI and see, okay, what we discussed this. What are the implications? How can I leverage? What are the different angles that I can use it? So
Exactly.
I totally feel you, and more like as a marketer, I'm more interested in how a particular customer speaks, how
Mm.
he or she describes a certain use case, a certain pains, so that I can mirror it, so that I can basically speak with other customers using their same tone of voice, the same language, rather than what we assume, what we think
Exactly.
we would help them resonate. Yeah, I think the recording are one of the, I would say, mandatory things that we need. And another head of CS, basically, which I talked to, the infrastructure that they had on CS was basically the backbone was a transcript call recording tool. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
that was the thing that they needed it in order to build everything. So it becomes like a pattern that I'm hearing more often in the conversations that I have with head of CS and CSM in general.
Yeah. And if you think of it, it's like more humane. I'm really surprised by myself that I say it because it really takes that value. They always like in all kind of like sales coaches, in all kind of communication coachings I've been, always step one was like listen, active listening, how to take notes, how to aggregate, how to listen at the same time. And now like I think that I got rid of this like notes anxiety. Like I have free hands and yeah, and I can actually listen.
I want to ask you about one of your principles, form follows function.
Mm-hmm.
What's the form most CS teams build before they figure out the function?
Oh wow, what a question. Let me repeat that. So, what form do I see CS
Teams build
build?
before they figure out the function.
Oh, wow. I I would take this as a homework, to be honest.
Okay, take it as a
Like, so
and
let,
please.
let me try. Yes, I
Okay.
can almost hear my synapses click. So, thinking at the last team event that we had, and I was very surprised that my colleagues were very focused on understanding industry news. So I would say that that's a form like newsletters, digesting different contexts from the customers, from what's going on, like LinkedIn news, relationship mapping. And that would be like a lot of content, a lot of form, almost like painting it, when the function that they're trying to build is exactly that, it's value. That's like how do you build value? So those like forms are different lexicons, different words for value. What are you? Tell me what you do, and I will tell you what you care about.
You build a lot from scratch, from health scoring, customer segmentation, playbooks. When you are starting from zero inside the company, where do you actually begin? What do you need in order for the foundation that you are building to be solid? To have the
Mhm.
confidence that it will last when you scale, when you double the portfolio of customers.
So, what I'm always interested in is why. As like why. So, first, when I heard you ask the question, I was tempted to say it depends. Like, are we an existing now? Are we building a process from scratch, but for an existing living organism, or are we building it on a carte blanche, on a empty canvas? Regardless, we need to focus on why. And then following this why, asking it 5 times, asking it 10 times, gets you to the essence of it. And then it explains on an existing process why people are doing what they're doing at the moment. And then, does this serve us still? Is this something that we can scratch away and change? I really love the lean and the Japanese philosophy is take things into smaller pieces and then put them back together. So this is how I would say you reassess or you build basically processes from scratch.
Alex, the last question, because I have to be mindful with the time. And this conversation, basically, I think could have been easily gone from for an hour or maybe more. So I want to end up with one thing. You've got a design degree, a Google chapter, a lean black belt, and now you are in CS. Is there something from one of those worlds, a mindset, a habit, something you learned the hard way that still shapes how you approach the work today?
Yes, it's something that I'm actually planning on designing as a tattoo for myself. It would be my first one. And that is patience. That is patience. Like for myself, like I'm the red type. I see a spark and I run and I do. I'm a doer. What I think is like key, what I noticed throughout my career, and I'm still working on it. I'm like far from there. This is why I want to tattoo it on myself to basically be reminded of it. As in, things happen for a reason, and I'm not saying this in a spiritual way. I'm
Mhm.
saying it from a very functional way. And then there's
Pragmatic.
exactly, and then these things that happen tell you stories, and then if you get curious about the stories and then you connect it with aims, magic happens. I got goosebumps. Sorry.
Alexandra, thank you. You don't meet many CSMs with in black belt, the Google chapter, and all the other things that you have on your resume. And the way that background changes how you build things was really interesting to get into. So thanks so much for joining and for accepting my invitation.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor, Irina.
To everyone listening, thanks for tuning in. Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and mastering customer success.